Hello friends, welcome back to PharmaHealth Insights. In today's masterclass, I will help you confidently answer the most important FTIR related GC interview questions. Before we start, let me ask you one honest question. How many times have you said in an interview, "Yes sir, I know FTIR," but the moment the interviewer said, "Okay, explain FTIR in simple words," your confidence dropped? Not because you don't know FTIR, but because nobody taught you how to explain it properly. In today's video, I'll teach you the FTIR exactly the way the interviewers accept, no book language, no memorized definitions, but interview ready questions. So relax and let's begin. So let's begin with the most obvious question. Now imagine you are sitting in the interview, the interviewer looks at you and simply asks, "So, what is FTIR?" And this is where you smile and answer in a very relaxed way. "Sir, FTIR means Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. It's basically a technique we use to identify the chemical compounds. In simple terms, it helps us understand what kind of functional group or bonds are present in a material. Because every compound absorbs infrared light in its own unique way. FTIR gives us almost like a fingerprint of that substance. And then you add one practical pharma line. That's why in QC labs, we commonly use FTIR for raw metal identification before dispensing just to make sure the right material is being used. See, this sounds natural, confident, and interview ready. And once you say this, the interviewer knows, yes, you truly understand FTIR. So once you tell what an FTIR is, the next question obviously definitely will be, what is the principle of FTIR? Now, the interviewer may go one step deeper and ask, "Okay, what's the principle of FTIR?" And here, you don't need to give textbook definition. Just explain it like you're talking normally. "Sir, the basic idea of FTIR is very simple. When infrared light passes through a molecule, the chemical bonds inside that molecule start reacting. Some bonds absorb that energy, and because of that, they begin to vibrate. Then you can add, now these functional groups vibrate at different frequencies. So each functional group absorbs infrared radiation at a particular wave number and finally connected to pharma. That's why FTIR becomes so useful in QC, because using this principle, we can easily identify APIs, excipients, and confirm raw materials. That's it. Simple, clear, and very interview friendly. Now the interviewer knows that you knows the concept, not only the definition. Now the interviewer wants to test your understanding of the spectrum. So he might ask you, fine, so what does an FTIR spectrum actually shows? And you can answer very naturally like this: "Sir, an FTIR spectrum is basically a graph that shows how the sample absorbs infrared radiation at different wave numbers. So as the IR light passes through the material, certain frequencies get absorbed. And those absorptions appear as peaks on the spectrum. Then you add this key point. Each peak corresponds to a particular functional group present in the molecule. And most important pharma connection, in QC, we usually confirm the identity by comparing the sample spectrum with a standard or a reference spectrum. If both match, we can confidently say the material is the same. This kind of answer shows the interviewer that you truly understand the FTIR. You are not just memorizing lines." Now the interviewer will go a little bit deeper. And hence, the interviewer may ask a very basic but a very important question. What are the X's in an FTIR spectrum? And you should answer it very smoothly like this: "Sir, in an FTIR spectrum, the x-axis represents the wave number. This is usually written in centimeter to the power -1. And the y-axis shows either the present transmittance or sometimes absorbance, depending on the instrument settings." Then you can add a small interview smart line. This is a simple question, but it creates a strong first impression because many candidates get confused between wavelength and wave number. So if you answer this clearly, the interviewer immediately feels, yes, this person has handled FTIR spectra before. Now, let's see the next important question. Okay, what is the fingerprint region in FTIR? And you can answer this again in a very natural way like this: Sir, the fingerprint region is the part of the FTIR spectrum that lies below 1500 cm to the power minus 1. This region is called the fingerprint region because it is unique for every compound. Then you add the key explanation. So, even if two molecules look quite similar in structure, their peaks in this region will not match exactly. That's why this region is extremely useful for confirming identities. And you can close confidently. In fact, this is the reason FTI is popularly known as molecular fingerprinting technique. Simple, clear, and interview friendly. With this, your interview will move towards the instrumentation part. What are the main parts of an FTIR instrument? And you should answer calmly and in a structured way. Sir, an FTIR instrument mainly consists of 5 key parts: an infrared source, an interferometer, the sample compartment, a detector, and a computer system for data processing. Then add one strong line that interviewers love. Out of these, the interferometer is considered the heart of the FTIR because it helps in generating the signal that is later converted into the spectrum. This is short, clear answer, exactly what the interviewers expect. So friends, once you have answered all of the above questions related to the principle and the parts, the interviewer will become more curious now. Now the interviewer will naturally move to the next question about the interferometer. Why do we use an interferometer in FTIR? And you can answer very smoothly like this. Sir, the interferometer is used because it allows the instrument to measure all infrared wavelengths simultaneously instead of scanning one wavelength at a time. Then add the benefit clearly. Because of this, FTIR becomes much faster and also more sensitive compared to conventional IR spectroscopy. That's a perfect answer, short, clear, and technically correct. Now, the interviewer will ask the next logical question. Okay, then why do we use Fourier transform in FTIR? And you can answer naturally like this. Sir, in FTIR, the instrument does not directly gives us a normal spectrum first. Initially, it produces a raw signal called an interferogram. Now, this interferogram cannot be understood or interpreted directly. Then you explain the key point. So when we apply Fourier transform, which converts the raw signal into a proper frequency spectrum, the one we actually analyze with peaks and functional groups, and then you close confidently. That's exactly why the technique is called Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy or FTIR. Simple, clear, and interview ready. So friends, now the interviewer will want to test your practical knowledge. The next question may be, how do you prepare samples for FTIR analysis? And you can answer in a confident, real lab manner like this. So sample preparation in FTIR depends on the type of material. For solids, we use the KBR pellet method. For routine analysis, most labs today use the ATR technology because it requires very minimal preparation. And for liquid samples, we can use the liquid cell method. Then add one smart interview line. Nowadays in pharmaceutical QC labs, ATR is the most commonly used method because it's fast, simple, and highly convenient. This answer works well because it shows you are not stuck with old textbook methods. You know what is exactly and actually being used in modern pharmaceutical labs. So now that you have told about the sample preparation techniques mentioning the ATR, now the interviewer will specifically ask about the ATR. So, what is ATR in FTIR? And you can answer very smoothly like this. Sir, ATR stands for attenuated total reflectance. In this technique, instead of making palettes or doing complex preparations, we simply place the sample directly on an ATR crystal. The infrared radiation interacts mainly with the surface of the sample and we get the spectrum. Then add the practical advantage. Sir, it requires very minimal sample preparation, it is quick, and the results are highly reproducible. That's why ATR is preferred for routine FTIR testing in pharmaceutical quality control laboratories. Simple, practical, and exactly what the interviewers they want from you. At this stage, the interview will move towards more practical aspects. What is a background scan in FTIR? And you can add your answer naturally like this. Sir, background scan is basically the first step we do before running any sample. It is performed to remove the effect of atmospheric gases like air, moisture, and carbon dioxide, which can otherwise interfere with the spectrum. Then answer simply. So we take a background scan first, and after that, once we scan the sample, the instrument shows only the peaks that belong to the sample, not the environment. This answer works very well because it shows you understand the actual working procedure, not just theoretical concepts. In pharmaceutical QC labs, background check is always done before taking any sample analysis. Your confident answer on the background scanning will now make the interviewer more curious. So, you may expect a follow-up question. What happens if the background scan is not proper? And you should answer in a very practical way. Sir, if the background scan is not taken properly, then peaks due to moisture and carbon dioxide will start appearing in the sample spectrum. Because of that, the spectrum may look distorted and it can lead to wrong interpretation or even false identification of the material. Then add the real QC impact. In pharmaceutical QC labs, this creates a lot of confusion, especially during raw material identification, because extra unwanted peaks may be mistaken as impurities or mismatch. So, the conclusion is that's why the background scan should always be taken under stable and controlled conditions. Now, the interviewer may move to very common FTIR problems. Why do we get a noisy spectrum in FTIR? You can answer it very calmly like this. Sir, a noisy spectrum usually happens when there is some kind of interference during the scanning. The most common reasons are moisture interference or dirty ATR crystal, or sometimes an insufficient number of scans. Then add one practical point. Also, if the lab humidity is high, the noise level can increase because water vapor absorbs IR radiations. This answer works really well because interviewers are not only checking whether you can run the instrument, but they want to see if you can identify problems and troubleshoot them confidently. Now, the interview would like to know the knowledge of spectrum noise, so be ready to inform the corrective action. Friends, now the interviewer may immediately ask the next logical question. Okay, then how do you reduce noise in FTIR? And you should answer in a practical and confident way. Sir, noise in FTIR can be reduced by taking few simple corrective steps. First, we should properly clean the ATR crystal because any contamination on the surface can affect the signal. Second, we can increase the number of scans, which improves the signal to noise ratio. Also, maintaining a controlled environment, especially stable temperature and low humidity, is very important. Then, add one more professional point. Proper instrument purging with dry air or nitrogen also helps in minimizing moisture and carbon dioxide interference. This answer works very well because you are not just stating the problem, you are also explaining the solution, which shows strong troubleshooting capabilities. So friends, the next question may be on another common issue. What is baseline drift in FTIR? And you can answer smoothly like this. Sir, baseline drift in FTIR refers to a condition where the baseline of the spectrum becomes unstable or starts sloping instead of remaining flat. So instead of getting a clean, steady baseline, we see a shift or drift in the background line. Then explain the common causes. This usually happens because of environmental changes like temperature variation, humidity, fluctuation, or sometimes if the instrument has not been given sufficient warm-up time. This answer works nicely because it shows that you understand real practical issues faced during FTIR analysis, not just the theoretical concepts. The maturity with which you answered the previous questions will definitely test you further. At this stage, friends, be ready for a follow-up question. What causes baseline drift in FTIR? And you can answer confidently like this. Sir, baseline drift is mainly caused by environmental and instrument-related factors. The most common reasons are temperature fluctuation, humidity variation, and sometimes poor nitrogen purging. Detector instability can also contribute to baseline drift. Then add the practical conclusion. That's exactly Why FTR instruments are always kept in controlled environment with proper purging and sufficient warm-up so that we get stable and reliable spectra. This answer shows practical understanding. So my dear friend, you are doing a good job and answering the questions very well. So now the interviewer will check your knowledge on the method parameters. So the next question may be, what is resolution in FTIR? And you can answer this in a simple and confident way. Sir, resolution in FTIR refers to how clearly the instrument can separate two peaks that are very close to each other. So basically it tells us how well two closely located absorptions can be distinguished in the spectrum. Then add the balance point. So if we use a higher resolution, we get sharper and better separated peaks. But at the same time, higher resolution also increases the scan time. This answer works well because it shows you understand both the advantage as well as the practical limitations. Now, you may be asked about the scan numbers. Why is the number of scans so important in an FTIR analysis? And you can answer very naturally like this. Sir, the number of scans improves the signal to noise ratio. So more scans we take, the spectrum becomes clearer and the peaks are more reliable. Then add the practical balance. However, taking more scans also increases the total analytical time. So in routine QC work, the scan number is always optimized and fixed as per the standard operating procedure, depending on the requirement. This answer shows both technical understanding as well as the GMP discipline from your end. So you are doing a good job till now and the interviewer is very happy with you. Now he will try to check your regulatory compliance. You may get this question, how do you calibrate an FTIR instrument? And you should always answer confidently like this. Sir, FTIR calibration is commonly performed using a polystyrene film standard. Polystyrene has well-defined characteristic peaks at specific wave numbers. So by checking these peaks, we can verify the wave number accuracy and also confirm the resolution of the instrument. Then add the audit relevance. This is a very important point not only for interviewers but also from an audit and GMP compliance perspective because calibration ensures the instrument is performing correctly before the routine analysis. This answer shows strong regulatory awareness from you. So friends, excellent work. Before winding up, you can expect a last question. The last but a very important conclusion question may be, what is the role of FTIR and GMP? And you should answer in a very professional way. Sir, FTIR plays a critical role in pharmaceutical GMP because it is mainly used to confirm the identity of raw materials before dispensing. This ensures that the correct metal is being used in manufacturing and helps prevent any mix-ups. Then add the broader quality connection. Sir, FTIR also supports vendor qualification, investigation activities, and overall data integrity in the QC system. So it's not just an analytical tool, it is an important part of GMP compliance. This answer works extremely well because it connects instrument knowledge with quality systems and interviewers always appreciate that. So friends, with this you have successfully completed the core FTIR interview questions. So if you have followed this session till here, trust me, your confidence for interviews is already improving because the interviews are not really about memorizing big definitions. They are about understanding the concept clearly and explaining it in a calm and simple way. And that's exactly what we practice today. So the next time someone asks you about FTIR in an interview, I'm sure you won't panic. You'll answer smoothly, just like a real QC professional. So friends, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this FTIR session was useful for you and added value to your learning. If you found this helpful, please don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends and subscribe to PharmaHealth Insights for more such practical, industry-focused interview preparation sessions. We'll meet again very soon in another important QC masterclass. Till then, this is Rajesh signing off. Take care and all the best.